Oh, really? Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Catalyst Storieroad. Thank you for joining us. My name is Phil Philpin Jr. I'm the CEO and Executive Director here at Catalyst. I'll be working behind the scenes this hour to take your questions. So if you're watching us live on Facebook and YouTube, go ahead and put your questions there in the comments section, and we'll get to them throughout the hour. And at this time, I'd like to introduce you to our host, Miss Marilyn Suchan.
Thank you, Philip, and thank you all at home for joining us today. I wanted to take some time to show a lot of love to the Broadway community because I know it's a difficult time right now for everybody, but especially the Broadway community where the Actors Equity Association let us know the other day that 99% of our union is unemployed right now. So sending lots of love to everybody, and I hope that this chat lifts your spirits a bit and we're all going to get through this together. So without further ado, let me introduce my guest, James Monroe Iglehart. So
Hello.
James is a Tony Award-winning actor, voice actor, and singer. He originated the role of the Genie in Aladdin on Broadway, for which he won the Tony in 2014. He also originated the role of Bobby in the Tony Award-winning musical Memphis. Recently, he took on the role in Hamilton for Marquis de Lafayette and Thomas Jefferson. And his TV credits include Coriolanus Burt on Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, The Good Wife, Gotham, Lance Strongbow on Disney's Tangled, and The Electric Company. James was also a member of the hip-hop improv group Freestyle Love Supreme. Welcome, James.
Thank you, Marilyn. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you. So we met way back right after you won the Tony
Yes.
for the Genie. And that was so fun because I remember all my tables around me had their playbills out for Aladdin. And I approached your table when we were sitting with Dawn. And I was like, oh, did you play the Genie? And I pointed to your visor you had on at the time.
Yes, right.
And you were like, I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, take your time. And I think I just scurried off and let you look at your menu. But yeah, that was an amazing performance.
Thank you.
And you're welcome. And then from that, I got to know you and I saw you perform at 54 Below,
Yeah.
which is, for people at home who don't know, 54 Below is this great intimate dinner theater space. And all of Broadway's greatest stars go there to do their own cabarets. And so James did one about his journey. So James, can you kind of, without, I won't make you sing right now, maybe in a moment when you're warmed up, but can you take us through that journey of how you got to New York and Broadway?
Yeah. I'm James Monroe Iglehart. My father is James Iglehart. I'm not a junior. He's James Luther. But he was an actor in the late 60s, early 70s. And my mom was a music teacher and a singer. So she's been singing, like to this day, if you went to a church in the Bay Area, she's probably singing someplace. And so I had acting and singing in the house. And that's what I really wanted to do. When I was 4 years old, I had my first solo in church, and I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. The minute I heard the applause, I was like, this is what I want to do for a living. And, as time goes on, you become a teenager, things shift. You want to do R&B, or you want to be a hip hop, you want to be a rapper. So I want to be a rapper. So I started rapping, started learning how to freestyle, started battling kids in junior high and high school. And then all of a sudden, I always had a thing for musical theater because my mom always took me to theater. My first show I ever saw was The Wiz, and I saw Phantom, and everything that came to town I would see. And somewhere around high school, we started doing, the school musical, and I did You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. And in my head, I was still going to be an R&B singer. That's, because I still wanted, when you're a young man, you want the ladies to, scream and holler. And I was like, I still want that. But then I started doing musicals, and I was like, this is a place where I could be all the things I want to be. I can be a singer, I could be an actor, I could be a dancer, I could be a writer, a director. I could do it all here in this genre. And so I started focusing on that, and started doing shows in the Bay Area. That's where I'm from Hayward, California. And I started doing shows there and did shows in Oregon. And then I did this crazy show at Theater Works, and it's called Memphis. And Memphis is the show. Actually, I did a bunch of shows in the Bay, in San Jose and Palo Alto, where I got to meet all the New York people. New York people kept saying, come to New York, come to New York, come to New York. I was like, no, I'm not, because it snows in New York, and I'm not going where it snows. I'm not a big snow person. I'm a West Coast person, don't get me wrong.
I get it.
All my family loves snow. I'm the only one. I'm like, no, people throw it, it's cold, I'm not doing it. And then we did Memphis, and from Memphis I met a young man, my dear best friend, Derek Baskin, who went on to be the principal lead in, one of the principals in 25th Annual Putnam Spelling Bee.
Yes.
And he played, why am I forgetting the name? Because I played it. Guys, he played the comfort counselor. That's what it was. He played the comfort counselor. And the comfort counselor, they were looking for a guy. We had done Memphis together, and we thought we were going to go to Broadway. And when people, if you do theater, they say, we're going to Broadway. That doesn't mean anything. It takes so long to get a show to Broadway. Yeah. So we're in our show waiting for it to get to Broadway. And, Mitch Mahoney, that's his name. Mitch Mahoney comes up for Derek, and Derek goes off to do it on Broadway. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. And when they needed a guy to come in for San Francisco, he called me. So I became Mitch Mahoney in San Francisco. Mitch Mahoney, that particular character, we took it to Boston. And from Boston, the producer said, we're going to Broadway. And that was my first Broadway show. And while I was doing that show, Memphis came up again, because finally, it takes forever to get to Broadway. So Derek and I ended up in Memphis together. And that's basically how I ended up in New York City. I spent 8 years in the Bay Area doing regional theater, learning my craft. Like I said, going to Oregon and Texas and all the different places and learning. I got my degree in acting and directing from Cal State University Hayward, or Cal State East Bay as it's called now. But as the School of Hard Knocks, it was like getting out there, auditioning, and doing good performances, doing bad performances, doing shows for 2 people, doing shows for 2,000 people, and then finally making it to New York. By the time you get to New York, you're a decade overnight success. It's like, oh my God, you're so great. You look, you just got here. I was like, nah, I've been doing this for 10 years. I just finally flew here, and I'm okay with snow now because I found big jackets.
Thank God for those big jackets.
Hey, nothing like Canada Goose. He's like, yes.
No.
I guess help me.
Oh man, yeah, I don't miss that part of New York.
I know you don't. I know when you went back to LA, I was like, kind of jealous.
So, can you tell us what's the difference in the open calls and the audition process from the West Coast to the East Coast when it comes to theater?
You know what's the funny thing is, I think the difference is when you're doing a show in New York as opposed to doing a show in either LA or the Bay Area. If it's a big show, it's the same. The open calls they start in the morning. It all depends on, do you have representation or do you not have representation? If you don't have representation, you are that person in the line at 6 a.m. signing your name on the line. They say, are you a union person or not a union person? I'm not a union person. Okay, sign here, please. You sign over there. And you sit in that big line over there. You look out there, you're like, there are 4,000 people here. Yep. For what role? And you just stand in line and everybody's talking to you. So, I heard they're going to call in like Christian Bale for this. And he's not doing this. This is Oklahoma. No. And you guys are all in the line together and you guys work your way up. And in New York's the same thing. It's just in LA, you're out there at 6 o'clock in the morning and it's 70 degrees. Out here, it's like, 40. And you're like, yes. I have to warm up someplace. And so that's why New Yorkers look crazy, because they're walking on the street warming up.
Yes.
Doing all their vocal stuff and kicking in the air. You look like an absolute idiot. But everybody in New York is so used to it. They're like, oh, it must be an actor. So the biggest difference between the open calls are, do you have representation or not? Because if you have representation, you're the guy or the lady who walks past the line because you have an appointment. You're like, look at all these people. Yeah. Hang in there, kids. And you walk in, have your appointment, do your thing, and then leave. So it's pretty much the main difference of the open call.
Yeah.
But I do remember I made a decision to don't do this. Do not do this. I made a decision. I was in the Bay Area and I went to go see Rent. And I saw a guy on stage. He was playing Benny. And I was like, wow, this show is great. And then I went to New York that next weekend for this open call for Oklahoma. And this guy was in the line with me, behind me. And I was like, you were just in San Francisco playing the lead role. I'm not doing any more cattle calls again. I can't. So I made a decision to do my best to do a performance is good enough that if agents did come, they would just, call me, because I was like, I can't stand in this line anymore. I'm not saying you should do that. Most of my friends still stand in line. I'm not anymore. But at the time, it was just a conceited decision I made. But, all depends on who you are. I just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, it does help a bit with the way Equity has it laid out, where you can sign up for different time slots at least. So maybe not 6 a.m. Maybe you just show up a half hour before.
It's changed. Like I said, when I first started, we were just out there, and they would give you a number, and you're like, damn, I showed up. I'm at 99. Well, at least I'm not 100. I'm 99.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So then, what was it like? How did you hear about the audition for the Genie? Was that through your rep?
Actually, it was funny thing. I didn't have representation until after we won the Tony at Memphis. So I got lucky. So here's the deal. Like I said, it's who you know and how you treat people. So it's about talent, it's about luck, and who you know. So
Right.
I was talented, and I was lucky enough to be in Memphis, and I knew Derek Baskin. So Derek told the assistant director of Spelling Bee to call me. They called. I came and I auditioned. Talent. Thank God I got the role. Then being in the show, met a bunch of New York people. Now, we had already done Memphis together. So when the readings came up to do Memphis in New York, they called the cast that they had because they wanted to keep us together. So I'm already in New York. I'm there. So I'm doing a Broadway show, Spelling Bee, and they start doing negotiations. And I hear that the producers are giving the cast their money plus 10%. That plus 10% goes to your agent. Right. And I said, well, I don't have an agent. They said, oh, okay, great. I said, so can I still get that 10% because I'm negotiating for myself?
Yeah.
And they were like, what? I was like, yeah, if you're going to give 10% extra, shouldn't I get that 10%? They say, well, we don't do that. I'm like, well, what can you do? Like, well, we can put it in a travel stipend. I said, I don't care what you call it, just as long as that money comes to me.
Yeah.
So that extra 10%. So I negotiated that, thing. But don't get me wrong, there wasn't that much negotiation. They were pretty much, here's the contract, and you're new, so you don't get to negotiate anything. So I did that one little bit of negotiation that made myself feel good. When it came to Memphis, because we were with the cast again, I negotiated for myself. I distinctly remember going up to the company manager's office, and he was not happy about that. And he was like, James, this is highly irregular. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, usually I talk to agents. I'm like, yeah, what's the difference between talking to me and talking to the agent? I'm like, oh, I get it. See, with the agent, you get to be mean. And with the agent, you get to say a bunch of crazy stuff and say your client's insane, but you won't say it to me because you want to keep a good relationship with me. When really, supposedly the agent is talking for you. I said, just talk to me and let's just be honest with each other and let's just talk. And but this is entertainment business, so when it comes to business, you can be honest, but to a point. So I got my agent. He came to see Memphis. And we negotiated. He was like, so I should get 5% of your money. And I was like, no, you shouldn't, because I negotiated the first contract. But on my second contract, you can get all 10% because you'll negotiate that. But as far as you like getting something else for nothing, nah, that's not gonna happen. So he said, I got this job. We ain't doing this. Right. So he became my agent. And the funny thing is, when Aladdin came up, I heard about Aladdin online. Nobody called me. I was literally looking at Broadway World. Yeah, I was looking at Broadway.com, and one of the two, and it had Aladdin was going to be done in Seattle. So I called my friends in Seattle because Memphis was done in Seattle at the same theater. I was like, hey, this is happening. What do you know about it? They're like, oh, we know it's coming. We don't know anything about it. So I called my agent, different agent at the time, must say. And they were like, hey, listen, they're not seeing you. They're seeing other people. I don't know why they can't see you. Don't know why. So again, luck and who you know and talent. Casey Nicola, who is the director of Aladdin as well as Book of Mormon, as well as Mean Girls, as well as Prom. Great director, great guy, love the man. He was telling his cast of Book of Mormon, I'm looking for a genie. Well, a couple of his cast said, John Eric Parker and Jared Gertner and this girl named Asmaret, they all said at separate times, you should see James Monroe Iglehart. So he went to Memphis, saw me, and that's when my agent got a call. And they said, hey, they want to see you. And I was like, oh, they want to see me all of a sudden. Because they were seeing all the brothers in the world, but they weren't seeing me. So that's how I got the audition. So it wasn't like my agent went and got it. Casey, the actors kind of helped, which I have paid them back. Most of them. I still have to give John Eric a present.
It's coming, John.
Still owe him big time.
Wow.
But yeah, I've gotten most of the shows through weird ways. It hasn't been like the TV shows and the cartoon. Well, the TV shows and most of the cartoons I've gotten through agents and auditions and stuff. But most of them, most of my Broadway gigs have been through friends and referrals. It's been really, really
incredible.
Weird.
Yeah, and then something like the role of the genie alone requires so much energy and enthusiasm and joy, which if it's not authentic, your audience is going to know, right?
Definitely.
So how did you do that 8 shows a week for the length of your contract?
To be honest, I am the biggest Disney nerd in the world, and Genie I have 2 favorite characters of Disney. For motion pictures, it's Genie, and for regular cartoons, it is Goofy. So I love those. I love the silly ones. They're the ones that make me laugh. And so I had been studying, honest to God, studying Genie and Robin Williams. I have a Mount Rushmore of comedians, Richard Pryor, Whoopi Goldberg, things like that, since I was a kid. And when I saw that Robin was doing this, I had to see it because it was Disney, Robin Williams, and Alan Menken and Howard Ashman. So it was like all like this one perfect storm.
Yes.
And I went to see it and lost my mind. I was 17 years old when it came out in 1992. And then my wife and I, we would go to Disneyland all the time. And we would see the Aladdin Spectacular in Disneyland. I've seen it 14 times, and I always wanted to play Genie. Even when they had auditions for the show, they were only at the time, they were only auditioning brothers for Jafar. They weren't auditioning for the Genie. And I said, if I ever do this show or project, I want to be Genie, but that'll never happen. Then when it finally did happen, I distinctly remember saying, I want to do a performance that I would want to see. What would I want to see on stage? So maintaining the energy is, what would I pay to see? What I want to give the audience the best performance I can. So it's about taking care of yourself. I try my best to get as many hours of sleep as I can. I don't get as many as I should now, but back then I was like, I got to get 7 to 8 hours sleep. Got to drink as much water as possible. Got to stretch every day. Got to make sure I warm up every day. Got to make sure my brain is on. I love improv. I love improvisation. It's one of my favorite things to do, which is why I'm with the group Freestyle Love Supreme, which is behind me. So I would do improv games with my friends. I would get my, brain teasers, whatever, to get my mind firing. So that when I got on stage, I could say whatever I needed to say, how I needed to say it, make it funny. And, the energy was hard. When I was done with the show, I'd be out of it.
Yeah.
But it's about, the audience didn't pay to see you sick. The audience didn't pay to see you complain. The audience paid to see you do a show. And as a Disney fan, as a Broadway fan, as just a performance, lover, what would you want to see on stage? And I wanted to give that. And I knew if I could give that, then if people even hated the show or hated me, they could never say I didn't perform for them. They could never say, well, he didn't give his all. They could always say, look, I didn't really like the show, didn't really like him, but he sure did give his all. And that's where the energy came from 8 shows a week.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I remember when I saw you and the curtains opened and you're walking down center. You didn't even utter a note or a word, and everybody was roaring for you. I mean, it gave me chills. It was so magical. I can't imagine what it was like for you.
It was one of the greatest experiences of my life because, here it is. It's this role that I've loved since I was a kid, and now I'm playing it, and the people actually are agreeing with it because I'm very different from Robin Williams. It was very Genie-esque. You don't want to, because I'm a rapper and a really amateur comedian, the one rule you're not supposed to bite off people. You're not supposed to steal people's jokes, steal people's style of rap. So I didn't want to steal from Robin, but I wanted to make it Genie-esque. Didn't want it to be Robin, but the Genie he created esque of that with my personality. And so the fact that the audience bought it and loved it was such a blessing because they could have just poo-pooed and be like, oh, you're horrible, you're not that guy, you're not Robin Williams, but they didn't. They embraced what we did and embraced what we had come up with, and to this day it's one of the greatest triumphs of my life.
Yeah, and I think, was that the cast that you were with on different YouTube videos in the airport doing rap battles?
Yeah, it was us versus Lion King. Yeah.
Those were so great.
That whole thing, people always laugh. People are like, wow, how'd you guys do that? We were on, our plane was delayed 6 hours and we were bored. And Lion King cast, just whenever they go someplace, they just start singing. And so they were like, we challenge you. And we're like, it's not fair. Like all of the songs in the Lion King are like chorus songs. All the songs in Aladdin are like duets and trios and solos. Like we don't have like a full just one group song. So we did this. I freestyled. I had them, sing a hook behind me and I freestyled it. So that somehow that ended up on the internet.
I was thinking, how is he improvising this? I mean, it's not just the words, but rapping at the same time and the musicality. There's a lot that goes into what you did.
Well, when I was a kid, like I said, I wanted to be a rapper, and I learned early that when you do rap battles, if you write everything down, there comes a round that you go by rounds. There comes a round where you don't have anything else left to say. So I started freestyling so I could always have something to say. And then when I got to college, I realized that was called improvisation. I had no idea that, somebody made a word for it.
Right.
And once I realized what improv was, I was like, oh, well, yeah, if I could put this music thing with improv, then yeah, let's do it. Never in a million years, never in a million years did I think I'd be doing it on Broadway, because Freestyle Love Supreme, we were off Broadway and we had a Broadway run. On July 17th on Hulu, you can see We Are Freestyle Love Supreme, which is the documentary about the group. So trust me, it never in a million years I think I'd be, this age doing hip hop and having a great time, loving it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I saw Freestyle Love Supreme wrapped in January.
Yeah. We had a wonderful 4-month run in New York. We had on Broadway. We had a wonderful 3-month run, 2-month run off Broadway. So it was fantastic, And for people who don't know what Freestyle Love Supreme is, it's a hip hop improvisational group started by Lin-Manuel Miranda, Tommy Kail, and Anthony Veneziali. And those 3 guys created a group, and the original members are like people like Chris Jackson, who is the original George Washington. One of our members is David Diggs, who's Thomas Jefferson, the original Thomas Jefferson, Marquis de Lafayette and Hamilton. UTK, you've probably seen him in the Mindy Project on The Simpsons or in Pitch Perfect. So we have so many cool people. Wayne Brady's a part of our group now. We have Shockwave as our beatboxer. We have some folks, in our group.
That's fantastic. And so being on Broadway and doing it off Broadway as well, what are the differences between the gigantic theater and then a slightly more intimate space for
the fun thing for the intimate space was that we could just bring people in. We only had at the time the group, I think we had like maybe 300 people in the room, maybe 200 in the room for the off Broadway run, and it really is about they're so right there, and that's one of the things about freestyle that's fun, because they can watch you create on the spot. There, and they're so close. When we got to Broadway, what they did was they just kind of they made a forced perspective of the stage, so it was still intimate. We had 1,300 people. What they brought it in so that they looked like they were closer, so it was still an intimate performance. So we had this big stage backstage that nobody knew, but the stage looked really small because the way they focused on the crew, but. It was great. I loved off Broadway. The problem with off Broadway was I was doing Hamilton at the time, so I would leave Hamilton sometimes after the first show and race downtown to do the show, and then race back uptown for the second show. I did 2 days where I did 3 shows in a row, and I'd do the 2:00 show, then get on a train or a cab and run downtown, and then run back uptown so I can get back on stage for Hamilton. So that was the biggest thing, was just travel.
Yeah, I mean, going back to get all your sleep and drink all your water.
Yeah.
But how do you recharge in between?
On those days,
while you're running.
On those days, I was literally running on energy from the night before. I was like, okay, it's a Saturday. Yeah. I slept. Let me do the first show. Chill on the bus. Go do the show. The improv. I think the great thing about the improv show is most people get nervous when they do improv. I love improv. I don't have to think. I just whatever it's a yes and game. So people say something, yes and go. So I don't have to go, oh, what should I say? I'm like, no, first thing, there it is. And then I went back to the other show. So it's really about just, but also knowing your limit. I didn't do every show, so the guys knew I had days off. So I was like, I could chill out and just sleep and be quiet and do nothing. And make sure I clean the house and clean the kitchen so my wife wouldn't shoot me.
Right. Yeah, we can't have that. Got to keep Dawn happy. She deserves it.
Yes.
So you would have off just Monday.
Yes.
But most of the time, especially the time while I was in New York, hearing about what you're up to, you didn't take a day off really ever. So what would you do to fill your Mondays?
The Mondays were either auditioning or I've had a really nice voiceover. I have a really nice voiceover career. Yeah. So when I was doing that, I was either working on my own show or working on voiceover stuff. So, but my wife would force me. She would say, "Hey, you need a day off. You need a day off." And I'd go, "Okay, cool." So I would take a day off. So
yeah, I mean, she is right. You got to recharge.
Yes.
Fill your cup so that way you can give us all these amazing performances, right?
Yes, but also make sure that you chill out and enjoy yourself, enjoy life. Because I think the thing that we as performers, for those of us all of us are striving for this place, this stardom, this spot. If I get here, everything will be great. If I make it here, everything will be awesome. If I made it to Broadway, now if I made it to the Oscars, everything will be great.
Right.
And you have this thing, and what's funny is as actors, that's a wonderful fuel for us. It's a great moment. It's that gasoline that pushes us forward. The problem is, it doesn't exist, and I am learning that it doesn't exist. There is no there.
Right.
When you get there, you're dead because there's no place else to go. But if you keep thriving for new adventures, if you keep thriving for new goals, that's different. That's a whole different place. That's fun. And then you don't have to keep trying to go up. You can go up or sideways or down or around. You can do all these different things. But the business makes us think like if we just don't keep going for that moment, because that moment we will be fine. The problem is when you get to whatever that moment is, you're still you. So you keep waiting for things to change. You're like, once I win the Oscar and I am in one of the Marvel films, the whole world is over. And you're like, right? No, you're still you, dude. You still have to come home and wash the dishes and take out the garbage, and most of your friends don't see you as a star because they're your friends and they've been with you forever. They knew you when you was broke and eating off the $1 menu at McDonald's, so they don't really. They're still like, they're still like, yeah, so what, man? You got an Oscar, whatever. Like, that just means you paying for dinner, So, so you keep striving for this place, but you want to keep striving to reach goals and to make new goals for yourself, so life stays interesting and do new adventures, things you've never done before. That's fun. But this whole actor thing of we have to get to this place. And I was doing that for a long time. I mean, I still have to stop myself, from saying, if I get there, it's like, no, remember, it's a journey. It's a journey. It's not a destination. It's a journey, not a destination. So my wife has to say, hey, take a break, take a break, relax. Enjoy what has just happened. Enjoy what you just did. Enjoy what you're doing. Not, oh my God, because I would do shows or I would do gigs and I wouldn't enjoy them because while I was doing it, I'm like, okay, now that I've gotten this will push me forward to this. And you're like, that's beautiful. But here you are with this thing you worked so hard to get to, but you're not enjoying it because you're already looking towards the next thing. Enjoy where you're at. And so that's what I'm learning and what I have learned.
Yeah. So going back to 2014, well, you and Don are in the audience at the Tonys. What's going through your head? Were you thinking this is my big break and that career started?
Yes, to a certain extent, yes, exactly. It's funny, great segue. I literally was thinking like, I've made it. It's over. Nothing else to do now. Got the Tony. Here we go. And you realize so far from it because I had put so much emphasis on getting the Tony and what the Tony would do. Now that I've got the Tony, these things are about to open up and I'm about to do all these big things. And I got to do a lot of big things, but not the things that I thought because life is still life, And I remember sitting there and couldn't believe my luck, couldn't believe the blessing, couldn't believe my eyes that I was at Radio City Music Hall, standing, up on that stage, and I've got the Tony in my hand. I go backstage, and there's Bradley Cooper, and there's Zachary Levi, and there's all these different people. And I'm like, I remember I won the same night Bryan Cranston won, and so Brian and I'm like, hey Brian, he's like, what's up, James? I'm like, that shouldn't happen. We don't know each other, but we knew each other because our names were called. Like, Brian, James, literally walking past the street, like, all right, man. I'm like, that's like surreal.
This is
and then you realize you get back to work on Tuesday, and it's back to work. And it's what I will say. But what the Tony did do was it did open doors that weren't open before. When you do something, when you win an award like that, your name gets out there and people say, hey, we should get that Tony winner guy, James, and have him come in. You still got to come in audition. Just come in to audition for the show or for our TV show. And that's what happened. Like, one of the cool things was this wonderful guy named Chris Sonnenberg. He came and saw the show, came and saw Aladdin. And while he was watching the show, he went, I want that guy to be a part of Tangled. We have to create something for him. So all of a sudden, about 3 weeks later, I get the call from my agent, and they said, "You have an offer for this cartoon called Tangled. It's going to be the continued adventures of Rapunzel, and they want you to be a part." And I was like, "Oh, where do I audition?" They're like, "No, they want you. They saw your performance. They said they want that kind of energy in the show." And Chris and I are really, really good friends, but it was because I was in the show, won the Tony. He came to see that guy or came to see that show, and doors have opened up. And so a lot of doors I've always loved, like I said, I've always loved cartoons. And so a lot of doors have opened for animation because people came and saw me on stage doing Aladdin and just being as silly and nuts. And when you have to be fearless doing cartoons because you have to be okay with looking like a complete crazy person. You have to look like a complete silliness is like an underlying thing. Like look as crazy as possible to get the best performance, and it's one of my favorite things. But it did open doors for TV shows. It did open doors for concerts. It was wonderful, but it also let me know that the Tony is only as important as, I should say, the Tony is extremely important, but it's only what you do with it. You can win a Tony, you can sit back and just wait for folks to come, or you can go, hey, I won this, you should look at me. And that's kind of what I did. I was like, yo, I got this. This means something. Let me show you what I got. And people were like, you got the Tony. Yeah, come on in. So it was one of those kind of moments.
Yeah. Did you have a PR team behind you as well?
No, actually, at the time, because I was with the Disney company, Disney was my PR team.
Okay.
I got one after I left. After I have a small PR team that works with me, which they've been doing a fantastic job. It's fine, wonderful. I've done some great things since then. So yeah, at the time, no, it was just the Disney thing and me hustling, me running around calling people. That's what I was doing on my day off. I was like, hey, I'm here. Let's do something.
What's going on? Yeah.
Go, okay, cool. Come down.
Yeah. Yeah. And when it comes to the voiceovers that you've been doing, did you go for training to know how to transition and translate the acting for the two?
No, because the cool thing about, you can do that, and I if you can, I say go for it. But I have been studying cartoons all of my life, and I was that guy who would go before the internet, try to go and find out who was the voice of everything. Go to the library and find the books on who did this, and where they were, was encyclopedias on who's the voice of and talk to other actors of who did this voice and how to find out. So I'm a student of the game and always wanted to do this. So it was never about training. I felt like I was training all my life, doing stupid voices around people and bugging my wife with 1,000 voices. And she's like, please get a job so you can stop talking to me in that voice, or stop singing stupid Looney Tune songs to me constantly. Just find someplace find someplace to channel this part of you. And once the cartoons happened, it was fun. So I have had a ball. And what's funny is a lot of them I don't get. I audition all the time. And the great thing is the technology we have now. You can audition on your iPhone or your iPad or your computer and send it in the MP3, and they say yay or nay. Or I've gotten about 3 of the cartoons I've gotten from my iPhone. Just being in my dressing room recording, send it, and they go, hey, yeah, bring them in. So
awesome. Yeah. And then along came Hamilton. Yeah. And how did you get, I'm sure this is just your own connections again of sorts.
Actually, so with Hamilton, I was doing, what was I doing? I was still doing Memphis, and I've known Lynn and Tommy for about 15 years now.
Okay.
Because of Freestyle Love Supreme. I got into Freestyle Love Supreme in 2007. So yeah, I was doing Spelling Bee in Boston. We hadn't even made it to Broadway at the time. I was in Spelling Bee in Boston, and Chris Jackson. I was the best man at Chris Jackson's wedding, and I will tease him about that for the rest of my life. So Chris was like, yo, man, I got this group. You need to be a part of it. It's really cool. I'm going to go do In the Heights. They need somebody to step in for me. Why don't you audition? So I auditioned for Freestyle Love Supreme. All those years ago, that's how I get in. They go to off-Broadway, do In the Heights. And so myself and Utkarsh UTK, this is rap name, took over for Lynn. I took over for Chris. And so while they were doing that, we were just doing it. And we didn't know what was going to happen. Then once In the Heights happened, everybody got back together and our crew got bigger. So I was doing this. So while he's doing In the Heights on Broadway, he said, yo, I found this book. And it's awesome. And most people who are Hamilton fans know this story. He found the book. He's on the beach. He's reading it with his wife. He decides that he sees Ham and Burr as, rappers rap battling, and he should do it. And he calls me and says, hey, man, I know that I want Mulligan to kind of be like a Busta Rhyme character. And so I'm doing this concert at Lincoln Center. James, would you do it? And I was like, sure, of course. So here we are, 2011. At Lincoln Center, and I'm a part of the original, first throw cast of Hamilton. So it's me, Mandy Gonzalez, Chris Jackson, myself, Karen Olivo, just all of us, John Rua, UTK. We're all there at Lincoln Center doing these parts. And then that same night, I had just come back from doing Aladdin in Seattle. The pilot production, which was like a real cheap production that Disney put on just to see if it would work, you know. So while I'm watching, while we're doing the show, Casey's watching, and Casey comes after us after the show and goes, "Wow, great performance! Just let you know, Disney's thinking about greenlighting Aladdin. We need to get a performance together." So we had to do this performance for the bigwigs to let them see if they still want to do this. At the same time, I get a call from Tommy saying, "Hey, yo, the Hamilton thing at Lincoln Center smashed. They loved it. They killed it. We need to go off to another place and do some rewrites. Do you want to go?"
Yeah.
And I had to make a decision, Hamilton or Aladdin. And at the time, the part I had in Hamilton was smaller, and the other one was my favorite Disney character. So I told Tommy, I said, "Listen, I know Hamilton's going to be a hit, but I'm going to go and do Aladdin."
Wow.
He thought that's what you were going to say.
Yeah.
He goes, "Go do Aladdin." He goes, "And trust me, you're still Freestyle Love Supreme. You're still Ham Fam, and you never know what happens in the future." So the rest is history. I go to Aladdin, Genie, Tony. All these things happen. Stuff is going on. Here, I'm in my last Aladdin. Told Freestyle Love Supreme I'm going to leave Aladdin. It's been a good 6 years. 3 off just doing a bunch of stuff. I said, "Say." I get a call about 2 weeks later. Tommy's like, "What do you think about coming back to the Ham Fam?" I was like, "What?" He was like, "Yeah. What do you think about it? What do you think about it?" And they discussed with me, and I said, "Let me think about it." So I talked it over with Dawn, and we were like, it'd be a good, their show had just opened, and not, I shouldn't say that. Their show had opened to raves. Everybody was loving it. They had won all the Tonys, and it was right around that time they had asked me, and I was like, "Sure." So but I couldn't come in until 6 months later. 8 months later after the Tonys, because my contract wasn't up until then. So they won in June. I joined in February because I joined in the show in February because my contract was up. So it was great. It was fun.
Oh my gosh. And wow, that's awesome. I didn't realize it had gone back that far. I was going to ask you if they made you audition or not, but
well, they did. Oh gosh, they did. Oh
did
man.
They?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Listen, crazy thing is
producers?
we are friends. No, for them, for Tommy, Lynn, producers, all of them. So it was one of the greatest auditions ever in my life because I walk in and the first person I see is Wayne Brady. So that's not intimidating. Just Wayne sitting over there. He goes,
Wayne. He's done a few things.
You're James Iglehart. I'm like, "And you're Wayne Brady. How you doing?" So we're both sitting down, and my other friend comes in, who's Miguel, who's Hamilton now on Broadway. Miguel said, "Yo, man, I'm auditioning for this thing." I was like, "I know, we're all auditioning for the same thing." So I was sitting down. Lynn walks in. He gives me a dab up. He walks in. "Oh my God, it's so good to see you." And he walks in the room. Tommy comes out. "Hey, man, yo, what's up, man? Good to see you." And he walks in the room. Alex Lackamore, the music director, was like, "Hey, man, good to see you." And he walks in the room. Now, they're all friends outside the door. I walk into the door, and then it's all business. I become James Monroe Iglehart, the performer. They become Lynn, Tommy, Alex, and Jeffrey, the producer, writer, MD, and director. And I did all the material they sent me. They sent me a thick thing of material. I did all of Aaron Burr stuff, I did the whole song of Hamilton. I did all of Aaron Burr stuff, and then all of Lafayette, Jefferson stuff. And then I left. Then I left and waited to see what was going to happen. And about a week later, I get a call, and they were like, "Yo, yeah, great audition." He goes, "We loved you." He goes, "We're sorry we had to do that." I'm like, "No, man, business is business. Friendship is friendship." There's times where it's time for business and time for, to kick it. And that was a time for business, but it all seemed to work out. And it's been a fun ride to do it. I mean, I remember calling David Diggs and going, "Hey, man, should I do this?" He was like, yes, you should. You should do this. Yeah. I'm like, "But I'm so different from you." He was like, "Exactly." And that's what they wanted. I love that. Because the original cast was such a powerhouse. They wanted to go a different direction so people wouldn't be compared to the original cast. So it's like, here I come, David and I are different looks, different sizes, different sounds. Yeah. And when people saw the show, they were like, "Oh, it could still be awesome without the okay." And so that's why when people go see, when Broadway opens back up or when theater opens back up, and people go see Hamilton live, you can see it on Disney Plus and love it and think it's awesome. But you'll see the same show, but with different energy, different places. It's a fun. The show is so well written that different people can do it in different ways, and it's still great. And that's what I love about that show.
Yeah. We watched it, my roommate and me, the other night. And I was amazed that all of that energy that you get in the live space really did translate through the screen. I was nervous that you would lose that part. I mean, it's still not exactly the same as being in the
Right,
theater
of
and
course.
the whole, of course, but the energy from the entire cast
It
just
better be. It
poured
better be.
right out.
Yeah, it better be.
Yeah. And I think that's amazing that you were given that liberty, because I was going to ask you the differences in originating a role versus taking one on, but it almost sounds like you did in your own ways get to originate.
I did, because
roles
I
fit
asked.
you.
There were questions I wanted to ask, because there's a style. David is a rapper's rapper. I mean, he's one of the best MCs. Period. Like, just because what you see on Hamilton isn't even what David can do. You should go check out David Diggs' albums with the Clippings, which is one of his rap groups, and also his own solo stuff. The boy is just one of the dopest MCs. Period in life. It also there's Blind Spotting, the movie Blind Spotting that he starred in with Raphael Cassell. Go check that out, and that soundtrack. I mean, oh my God, the boy, he can just write his face off. But I don't, I rap as fast as he does. Well, not. Trust me, I won't lie. I'm a couple seconds behind.
He's
but
watching.
I know he's watching. but I'm fast. I'm not as fast as D, but I'm fast,
Okay.
and that's one of the reasons why he's one of the guys that said I think James should do this. But one of the cool things where I said, listen, he's a tenor, I'm a baritone. Can I use some of that? Can I use my size? He's a tall, thin, muscular brother. I'm a tall, bulky, husky guy. And so it was like, can I use that? And so because I dance well too, like Diggs moves well and I move well, but I'm more of a dancer than he is. And so they let me do that. They let me bring that to the part. And it's so much fun because the Hamiltons I've had, there's a size moment, so I get to use all of this and my deeper voice in certain sections for certain, even Alex Lackamore said, hey, why don't you do this with the song so it sounds more like you and not so much like Diggs? And I was like, cool. So when people come to see it, they think they know what they're going to see because they've listened to the soundtrack 5,000 times, and they come and they're shocked, like, oh, I didn't know it was going to be. I didn't. And different inflections make you feel different emotions, and so we really get to play with the show. Don't get me wrong, the show is not changed, but we get to play with it, make it our own, and you still get the same, feel from it.
Yeah, which is really refreshing because so many shows on Broadway, you do have to fill the role the way everyone else has been doing it. So it's not a one size fits all, but you must fit the size, so to speak.
All the shows I've done on Broadway, I have been blessed to be able to create the show. The director has said, do it your own way. If you go on Broadway HD, which is a wonderful channel, which has a lot of Broadway shows that people want to see it, that we filmed Memphis the same way they kind of filmed Hamilton years before. And if you watch that performance, our cast, is a lot of them weren't the original cast, but they are killing it because our director allowed them to put themselves into it. Same with Spelling Bee. I didn't do it the same way Derek did it. I've been blessed to be in shows where they didn't say you have to do it this way. They want you to bring part of you so that the audience feels it's alive.
Ah, I love that. That's amazing. And then with all of your background doing the freestyle rap, what were some of the challenges now? Like, you're great at memorizing lines as an actor, but then memorizing lyrics to a rap in Hamilton.
The fun part is the freestyle helped when I would mess up.
Oh, there it is. Because you would have videos on Instagram like, okay, so this is how I did it tonight.
Yeah, so I would either mess up, say gibberish, or, I'd be able to come through with a cool rhyme, and Lynn was like, cool rhyme, not what I wrote. Cool rhyme, no.
Maybe don't do that one again.
Oh, we've all had them. We've all had them, and we always laugh.
Gosh,
We were like, "Wow, that was a good one." And the audience knows because they know the show so well. They're like,
right,
huh? So it's one of those fun moments.
That's hilarious. That's awesome. So I want to talk a little bit about now We've talked about your work on TV and transitioning over, but was it like in the beginning of your career with all this theatrical background? Going, okay, now I'm auditioning for film, so I got to tone it down a minute.
That was an interesting transition because my friends, I'm so big on stage, and that's a thing that they love. My friends love to joke with me about. They're like, just seeing James is like seeing 3D because I'm like big on stage. And one of my friends, I was auditioning for some TV, and I was like, nobody likes me, and he's like, okay, first of all, you need to calm down when you get on. It's because what you do on stage, you can't be that big on the camera because you look like you are literally coming into people's homes. He's like, He said, just calm down and just read the lines like we're talking now. And that was like the best bit of advice I had ever been given. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, man. He goes, just talk like we're talking now. And my next audition, I booked it. It was so funny. I was like, I went back to him. I was like, hey, that was some great advice. You just talk, So it was an interesting transition from it was an interesting transition from doing theater auditions to TV auditions, because TV auditions, they literally just, sometimes it's more about just giving, the story, just saying what's happening. It's like you're doing a Law and Order audition. It's not about finding your character. It's about, okay, look, your character basically is here to tell the two cops what happened in this place. So go do that. And you go, oh, okay, cool. So you don't get me wrong, you find the character, but you don't have to let me get deep into what what happened. Well, see, I was working, right? And then the dude came, shot the dude, and I saw it, and I called you guys. And then he's like, oh, you booked it. Great, thank you. That's
great. That's what we needed.
And now back to, all the food that they have on TV sets. Which
yes. There was one Tony Awards where I forget who it was, but they said, yes, every Broadway actor has been on Law and Order at some point in their career. It's mandatory almost. And then they showed all the clips.
And when they said it, I hadn't done it yet, and I was mad. I was so mad. When I finally got my Law and Order SVU moment, I literally tweeted out, I am finally a New York actor. I literally tweeted, I was like, I finally made it. I forget the Tony. I am now a New York actor because I've been on Law and Order.
Yes.
But some of the fun things about the TV thing is when you're on, as people know, when you're on stage, that's your shot. That's it. When TV, you at least get another chance to do it. And so I got some fun roles, especially, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt on Netflix, which is Coriolanus Burt, which I loved. Also on Netflix, Maniac, I got to, work on that show, which was fun. And, I got to do The Good Wife. So I've got to do some really, really fun things. This past year, I got to do Perfect Harmony, which was fun. I was dressed in drag, which was nuts. And also, it's always fun because when you audition for TV, or actually when you audition for anything, I think it's those moments where you think you didn't get it, that you get it. You go, yeah, I did all right, it's fine. They go, hey, you booked it. You're like, I did? What the hell did I do? I have no recollection of what I did. And it's because you went in relaxed. You went in knowing your material. It's about being prepared, relaxing, and just doing your thing. Just do it. And, if you concentrate too much on you always want the job. That I can't tell you go, oh my God, you're not going to ever go, I don't want this job. You always like, please, I want this job. But you also can't hold on to it so hard that you can't let it go, because it's not in your hands. Once you audition, once you say your lines, once you're in front of the camera, once the casting director says, thank you, it's a great job, good to see you, and you walk out, it's out of your hands. So you got to let it go. So I walked into all the auditions of the TV shows that I got. It was pretty much ones that I went in and said, cool, I did my best, I'm proud, okay, on to the next gig. And then other things happened. And what the fun part is, people always used to say, listen, man, in order to do TV, man, you got to be in LA. You got to be in LA. You got to be in LA. Well, the fun thing is, with the way our technology works now, you don't always have to be in LA because it's expensive. And producers and companies trying to film everywhere. LA, Chicago, Texas, Oakland, California, New York. So you could book a gig anywhere. So, there's a lot of work in New York, a lot of work all around the country. Well, not right now, but when it opens back up, there's always places to go. You don't always have to be in New York or in LA. You can find other ways to do things. You'll probably have to go there if you book it. But, look, you have an iPhone, you have a TV studio. You could pretty much create a whole doggone show. And people have. So I think that's the thing that people get locked up in, like, oh my God, I have to be in LA. I have to be in New York. It's like, nah, not really. You can do your stuff where you're at, and then but you'll always end up in those two places because those are the two big entertainment capitals of the United States. But you don't always have to do it there.
Don't tell my mom that. She might be watching right now too.
I will say this, but as a person, not an actor, you have to spread your wings and fly and go places where you've never been. You don't just stay at one place. I mean, you can go on and be who you want to be. I mean, if you're in Texas, go to Chicago. If you're in Chicago, go to Texas. If you're in New York, go to LA. If you're in LA, go to New York. Go to Florida. Go to all the places where the business is happening. Spread your wings, because then it gives your parents a place to go when they vacation.
Thank you so much. That was so nicely said and so impromptu. I see we do have a question from the audience, and we're running low on time. So let's hop over there and see if that sparks more. This is from Sean. I also liked you in Maniac. How was that role?
That role was fun. That was a role where I auditioned and literally walked in and was like, I'm not gonna get this. Let me just go in and do it. So I was prepared because I always want to be prepared. So I memorized everything and I walked in and I said everything very just chill like. And I was like, because they wouldn't tell me anything about the show or the characters. I didn't know anything. So I said, great, I'm just going to do this straight faced and walk out. And I did. And that's exactly what they wanted. So it was great. And I got to meet, everybody. That was why I'm blanking on people's names. Got to meet Jonah Hill, and I got to meet, she's the great.
People names, dates.
She was, oh God. Look, Emma Stone. That's terrible. This woman's won everything and like done everything, and I forgot her name. Sorry, Emma, if you see this, I love you. But Emma Stone, and it was great. Sally Field was in this show. It was nuts, and I met some really great folks on the set. I mean, everybody from just the cast members, standbys. Also, the crew was fantastic. I had the best time on that show because it was so ridiculous and it was such a weird, crazy premise. I had the best time. I loved it.
Amazing. We have one more that came in. Keep bringing in the questions. This is from Von Guy. Interested to know what James' hopes are for the future of storytelling and representation, especially with Broadway and Hollywood outing the industry's racist history and calling for change.
I hope, my hope is that there are more people of color telling stories. We have always told stories. We've always told great stories. I just hope that we as a people, and I mean, when I say we as people, I mean people of color. It doesn't matter, Asian, Latin, Black people especially though, but we are able to build up our own companies and stuff like that to tell our own stories. Yeah. And so if Hollywood or Broadway decides that they don't want to, I mean, they're going to, because that's how history works. This is the time for change. This is the time for walls to be broken down. Yeah. But if they decide to keep walls up, I'm hoping that we build our own things and able to tell our own stories our own way. Because the fun part is they can't tell our stories our way. They can't write our experience. They don't know our experience. They can see it. And they can see what it's like, but they don't know our experience from our side. So I think that we will be writing in the future. I think we will be writing our own stories. We'll be directing our own stories. We'll be acting in our own stories, and we will be telling the stories that we want to tell. And the great thing is, because we're great storytellers, everybody's going to want to see it. White, black, yellow. It doesn't really matter. It's going to be the way it's supposed to be, and I think it's going to be great. Though it's going to be hard. It's going to be a hard, long road. I'm not even going to act like it's going to happen overnight. But I also know that there's a crack in the wall and the walls are coming down, and we are going to start doing what we're supposed to be doing, how we're supposed to be doing, the way we need to do it to represent ourselves in the best way.
Yes. So well put. And everybody says that they want original voices. Well, yeah. Put your money where your mouth is.
Thank you. And trust me, it's gonna happen. I mean, you've seen it now. We're in lockdown, and there are more stories coming out. People are putting out content because, like I said, we have a studio in our hands with our iPads and our iPhones and our Galaxies or whatever. We can create it, and then when people see how good it is, all of a sudden they're going to put money behind it. So,
yeah. Thank
another
you.
question that popped up.
Yes, let's go to the next one. From Greg, when you work with a small crew, does it concern you? What's the smallest crew you've worked with?
Small crews don't concern me. I know you can work with a big crew. You can work with a big crew of people who don't care, or you can work with a small crew of people who do care and come out with some great content. The smallest group I think I've worked with was we had I think maybe like 5 or 6, maybe 10. We had like cameraman, director, sound person, light person, and a couple makeup people over here, and then the assistant who goes, okay, your lines are this. And so, and then with plays, the smallest crew I've worked with, I did a one-person thing. I did a one-person gig. So it's like me and the director and like the lighting designer. So, it all depends on the heart and what you as a crew want to do together. It doesn't matter the size. You can always make something great, because you can have a big crew of people who are so used to just being there, like, yeah, this is our gig. Or you can have a small group of people who go, I want to do this. Or you can have that big group like Hamilton, where everybody wants to do the best thing ever, and then you see what happens. Cool.
Yeah. And we have one more, unless you ask some more at home. We're ready. So from Mary, is there a dream role you still really want to do? Ooh.
Yes, there is one. Well, there's a couple, but there's a dream role I would love to do. I would love to play Phantom on Broadway. It'd be fun. My friend Norm Lewis got to play it, and I have loved Phantom since I was 17. It was like I lived that 17 was a great year, because I went to LA for with my show choir, and we sang in Disneyland, all that stuff, and then they took us to see Phantom, and it was the week after Robert Guillaume left. Robert Guillaume was the first African American Phantom. For people who don't know Robert Guillaume, he is Benson. He is also the voice of Rafiki in the original Lion King cartoon, and so hear that he got to do it, I was like, that's so cool. And then all these years later, to see my friend Norm do it, I've always wanted to. So you always say, reach for the moon, you might grab a star. So as far as dream roles on film and TV, nah, I don't have one. I hope to create some, or audition for one that's really cool. But as far as like Broadway, yeah, that one. Everything else, I'll just make up.
Fantastic. Well, this has been a super fast, amazing, energetic hour. Thank you very much for joining me and spending time with me. I've missed you.
I hope people enjoyed it. I missed you too, girl, too.
I know. Everyone at home, stay tuned. We have a few more webinars coming up, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.